Jim's muttering under his breath as we get this podcast underway. The theme for the next several podcasts is the current state of the Middle East, given the terrorist attack by Hamas, caught by surprise Israel, the response and the retaliation. The hate has been the theme of the last few podcasts, and I don't know where you wanted to go with this one.
Well, and what's to come? You know, like I told you, I thought the reason Hamas did the atrocities is to pull the world into doing their hope, which is eliminating Israel from the face of the earth.
I'm not sure how you see the world getting dragged in against Israel. I see the world just gathering in support and behind Israel.
For now. But I'll tell you how they dragged the world into it. As I said, Israel is a smart bunch of people. They're smart countries, you know, intelligent and the rest of it. And I'm not saying others aren't. Matter of fact, I'm saying Hamas's move was intelligent for what they wanted.
2 years in the planning, they say, and nobody knew?
Yeah, that was amazing. And they got past the Israeli forces.
Maybe the clue should have been 2 visits by Hamas to Putin.
Well, the thing is this. Here's what I was trying to say when I said, Israel knows it goes into Gaza, they're going to die. Their own soldiers are going to die. They know it's booby-trapped and everything. I say Hamas is probably booby-trapped it against the Palestinians, in order to get the anger of the world against Israel. They're willing to sacrifice their lives. That's what I honestly believe. So I believe they did these atrocities to be as gruesome and as ugly and unimaginable as you can imagine, setting people on fire live, and killing them that way in front of their children. Doing the most horrible thing was a planned, you guys have got to do this because we want the world to come against Israel. And what Israel's going to do is they're going to appear to be incredibly cruel to the people of Gaza.
And you're saying the Arab nations around them are not going to take that?
Yeah, and then other countries are going to say they're going to start dropping their support of Israel when all the pictures and everything comes back from Palestinian suffering. And that's what I think Hamas's plan was. I may be wrong, but that's what I'm thinking. And I may be right on that, which means you're on the cuff of a world war, and because if Israel stands alone, I personally believe then Christ is going to come. If Israel doesn't stand alone, it's going to be one bloody battle. And then we know Revelation says the attack from the east, which we all assume is China, of 200 million man army coming up through in order to take part in the battle over Israel. So it's maybe not that, probably not that. We've gone through centuries of people thinking it's the end, and it hasn't been. The 6 Day War, that's the end. This is the end. It wasn't. This may not be either. All I'm saying is sometimes you got to think maybe it is.
Yeah, I'm reluctant to interpret biblical prophecy with an application to today's current events. And call me gun shy, but the Y2K stuff was the end of the world, and people staked their prophetic utterances on the Y2K, and
well, people are doing that now too.
Well, that's what I mean.
They're taking advantage of this. I watched one young guy. He looked like he was 19. I had this prophetic message. I turned it off. I said, there's 50,000 people with prophetic messages, and you're going to come out. I can make up prophetic messages and lie.
What do you think the internet is lit up the most searched for? Is it the end of the world, apocalypse, Armageddon, or, give me a search term and we can check with the mighty Google and say, what's the most checked word?
The sad thing is, when you're someone like me who's sort of stick in the mud, old school, the sad thing is when the time comes when people are going to search for the truth, they're not going to find the truth anywhere.
That's your interpretation.
It's just going to be completely clogged down with everybody's bull crap and everybody wanting to get their hits on the internet, have their podcasts be successful. So that's what's going to happen.
Internet has certainly clogged with not good stuff. And I've often mentioned to you personally my individual observations, and it's just anecdotal. It's just me making this observation that Twitter has gone the way of the far right. Elon Musk is not a free speech advocate. He is allowing a whole bunch of stuff to go on, which is anti-Semitic. So this is the big thing. So when you talk about anti-Israel and the world going that way, I can see technology leaning in that direction. I'm hoping it doesn't. Okay, the theme for this one, this is sort of this is podcast number 700, by the way. Woo! Well, clink, clink to that one. Listen, can you believe we sat down in front of these mics 700 times?
That was a shofar. That's a shofar.
Come on, can we not? That's the ram's horn that Jim is sounding the biblical. I don't know. Is that another sign of the apocalypse? Are you ushering it in by sounding that ram's horn? Which end is that sound coming out of, my friend? I am very aware of the small confines of this place. Okay, all kidding aside, were we going to switch to the give peace a chance notion? How does this unwind now that it is wound up?
Well, how do you make peace out of this? How do you do you go to Israel and say, again, for the 950th time, let's have restraint, you hold back? And how do you do that this time? Even the President of the United States hasn't said use restraint. All the other times it was use restraint. Now it's never mind using restraint.
Was it an Israeli prime minister? And I am wondering whether it might have been Golda Meir, and I don't know the dates of that, who was asked not to retaliate. Was it the Scud missiles?
It was the Scud missiles,
and they were asked not to.
Don't retaliate.
It's not Golda Meir. I don't know who the prime minister was at that time. But yeah, they were asked by the West, by the United States, I think.
Yeah, don't retaliate.
Don't retaliate.
They're bombing you. Don't retaliate. This time they're not asking them that.
Yeah, but and you were saying that was Scuds because that was a Russian-supplied weapon system.
Yeah, and it was to Iraq, who was under attack. Israel had nothing to do with that, not a thing.
Yep.
But that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about.
Right.
Israel had nothing to do with it, but Iraq, knowing it was going to lose the war to the United States, wanted to haul the other Arab nations in by getting Israel to attack Iraq. And Israel didn't. Under the hope of the United States, Israel didn't retaliate, so the other countries didn't get dragged into the war.
Okay, so using that as a framework of understanding how this might unwind, is it possible that there will be a limited response by Israel and then there will be a pause? Or is this just going to keep snowballing?
I think it's going to snowball. I'm not an optimistic person. You know that.
I do. I try to fill your cup every time you come here.
I'm a happy-go-lucky guy, but I'm not an optimistic.
Not.
I am.
You're a naysayer.
I am. Punch you right in the face.
You're a miserable old codger sitting in that seat.
It would be great if they could go in there, but I don't know how you're going to eliminate it, because there's other things that Hamas might be doing. In other words, they might be in Syria right now, Egypt or Lebanon, planning to launch 1,000 missiles from those countries, one of those countries, which is going to appear that country's at war as well, and then draw the ire or the anger of the United States.
Okay.
There's so many. This is such a powder keg.
Well, let me give you something that I read, which is that the leader of Hamas is safely ensconced. That means safe at home. Ensconced is comfortable. In Qatar. He's not even in Palestine. Why is that?
Bloody coward.
Or is it strategic in some way?
Well, I guess it is, like...
Okay, let me throw this one out there. Not that I'm going down a conspiracy rabbit hole, but some other bit of it. Why not? $6 billion has often been thrown around saying that Biden's released $6 billion to Iran. What do you expect is going to happen? They're going to do their usual support terrorism here, there, Hezbollah here, and Hamas there. Qatar holds the $6 billion from what I have heard.
Really?
Now, does that throw something?
Well, that throws something at it for sure.
That throws $6 billion somewhere.
Yeah, that throws it. So now the United States has not released that apparently.
No,
and I hope they
not.
Don't.
No.
But
and it's only supposed to be able to be spent on humanitarian. Sure. Here we go. How many times can you say a bomb is not helping people?
Yes. Maybe China or Russia should give them their humanitarian aid. Maybe Egypt and Saudi Arabia should give them their humanitarian aid. Why is the United States giving them humanitarian aid? I mean, do none of these other countries ever fess up to their countries in trouble?
Why are there no support? The United Nations is in there with humanitarian aid.
Yeah.
I heard that they are supporting, I don't know, close to 200,000 refugees with temporary accommodations. Where are you to go if you're caught in this? If you're a moderate Muslim, if you're a Palestinian, just because that's where you were born, but not by conviction that you're a Islamic terrorist, that you want Israel eliminated, if that's not your conviction, how do you get out of this before it literally blows up in your face?
I guess you should have thought of that before it blew up. I don't know.
How do you get out of that? If you're born into this,
Well, Egypt, I don't understand. Egypt's locked its borders.
yeah, why?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't want Hamas running into their country. Because don't forget, they don't have uniforms, folks. They look like the everyday Joe just walking down the street. So there's no way of. This is the worst army to fight. Is an army that
It's
hides in the public.
guerrilla warfare.
Yeah, they just hide in the public, and so I hate to say it. The only way to eliminate Hamas is eliminate everything that's around it.
So you're talking,
And I'm not advocating that. I'm just saying. I
but
think
you're
that's
saying
what it's
the
going to
only
end
way
up.
to eradicate. Would you eradicate Hamas, or would you just get rid of Hamas in Gaza by doing that?
Well, I doubt if you can eliminate Hamas.
You can't
I'm sure they
eliminate
got
an
their
ideology.
authorities in that country. You said the leader isn't even in that country. He's safe and sound with his family.
Well, that's the leader of Hamas.
Hamas. Well, what
but
I'm
not
saying
the Palestinian Authority.
But you got I don't understand. What's going on with the Palestinian Authority? Again, you can't house terrorist armies, and Hamas is an army of terrorists.
Yes.
You're housing terrorist army. What do you think, Stoop, is going to happen eventually?
This goes back to Russia too, though. What are the Russian civilians supposed to do? They might not. If they knew that things Putin was doing in Ukraine, would they protest? How do you protest when you know you're going to be arrested and detained and sent to Siberia?
Yeah, you can't protest.
And that's what I'm wondering is the way of the moderate Palestinian. Are they also at the, Hamas has got them by the
Well, they
throats?
have, but I don't know if they don't want to have. Again, glory in their death. Well, they're dancing in the streets in the West over the brutality that happened to the Jews. Wrong timing.
Wrong
Protest
time.
at another time.
We've said that's a bad look regardless.
bad
All
look.
right, the Jim and Terry Show. I think we got one more in us and try to wrap
We
it
can
up.
talk
with
about Santa Claus.
Give peace a chance. Bye-bye for now.